The MVP favorite is down for we don't know how long. Joel Embiid has a meniscus tear. LeBron James might be on the move, might be getting traded. Time is up, according to LeBron James. The All-Star reserves have been announced. So much more has been happening in the NBA, but let's get into foul trouble. Patrick, we spent this week traveling. You know, you were in Cleveland, I was in Miami. We were going to do a whole Phoenix Suns. You know, the Cavs have won 12 out of 13. The Knicks are looking amazing, but when the MVP favorite goes down and LeBron James looks like he might be getting traded, that takes center stage.
The king of the NBA, the king of last season. The Kings are falling left and right. The Kings just keep losing. You saw the Kings lose live. There is only one thing, though, that I need to hear about from your trip. So, of course, I watched the Suns Heat game, and I could not help but notice, James, you were in Miami at the game on the same day it was Rick Ross's birthday, and Rick Ross was in the audience with you in the crowd. How were the vibes for Rick Ross's birthday in Miami?
You know, I didn't know it was Rick Ross's birthday, and I was wondering why Rick Ross got a tribute video during the game, because that did happen. I was really unsure as to why that was happening. But, you know, Rick Ross is the man. I've had the pleasure of meeting him once. He told me to stay warm. I've been doing that. I forgot to bring a hoodie on my trip, though, so I was actually pretty cold. It gets kind of windy in Miami.
Damn, so you were not heeding Rick Ross's only advice to you. Okay, Rick Ross aside.
No, I did not.
You're right. It's crazy. This has been an insane week of NBA basketball, NBA news cycle, and your guy, our guy, Philadelphia's guy, Joel the Process Embiid, went down. We're not exactly sure the extent of the meniscus tear just yet, but it's become very clear that Joel Embiid is not going to make the games played threshold to qualify for MVP, qualify for All-NBA. James, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so we don't know the extent of the injury. Shams tweeted this yesterday. The team has not officially confirmed a tear and says that Joel Embiid will remain out through the weekend while a treatment plan is finalized. But it seems like Joel's probably going to miss, at minimum, a month and a half to 2 months of NBA basketball. And, you know, I feel like it's really a shame that, I feel like this all, you know, we're all speculating, but this all seems to kind of stem back to him missing that game in Denver and all the ridicule he got for it. And it seemed like he really pushed himself to play before he was ready. And then, you know, here he is with the torn meniscus. And, not to compare myself to Joel Embiid, but, having torn my meniscus myself, it did come after, strenuous, working on my knee for a long, long time. So, it does make sense that an injury like that would come because he, you know, came back before he was ready. So it's a real bummer. You know, we're witnessing a historic season, and I feel like the whole 65 games played thing has kind of been this weird, unintended talking point where it would have been maybe better in retrospect to just let that work itself out naturally if at the end of the season he only played 55 games. Because, yeah, it's a bummer that Philly's out with their guy, and it means Philly's going to drop in the standings. And if he does come back, it's going to be really interesting to see. You know, are we going to get Philly-Milwaukee in round one? Or are we going to get Philly-Boston in round one? How far are the Sixers going to slide? I know they won last night, but they've been pretty bad without Embiid for the most part this year.
Yeah, so the Sixers are about, I think they're 6 games back of Boston at 1 right now, but they're still, and it helps that the Pacers lost yesterday to the Knicks. But it's kind of up in the air. I guess 5 games is a lot to make up, which is basically what the Heat would have to do and the Pacers would have to do to knock them down into the play-in race. But even just kind of sitting where they are right now, it's a very tough matchup against Cleveland. I think they've played well enough to assume that they could have an easier first-round matchup. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't really sure how to feel about the 65-game rule coming into this season. And more, it feels like I think Joel Embiid's MVP campaign was kind of slowing down in the first place due to his missed games. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head of people that don't play a lot of games, unless you're Bill Walton in the mid 70s, they don't get voted as MVP. And I think if this rule wasn't in place and Embiid played, like you said, 55 games, 60 games, even without this like big kind of dramatic meniscus tear, I think his numbers would have had to be even more exorbitantly amazing than they are right now for him to actually win. So I wonder if the NBA is long for this rule, because it seems, at least thus far, it's done a lot more harm than good.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting going back to that, because I feel like the last time we've really had somebody who really didn't play enough games to win an award, but probably should have, was Joel Embiid himself all the way back in his rookie season, because he only played 32, 33 games. But you could argue that he was much more impactful in his 30 games than Brogdon was in his 82.
Yeah, you could argue it very, very easily.
He was by far the best rookie that year.
But yeah, I mean, so looking towards that MVP race that we're dancing around, obviously Embiid is no longer the favorite. The five favorites right now, taking Joel Embiid out of it, is Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, and Giannis, and then Jason Tatum taking out the rear. I don't know, where does the MVP race stand in your mind now?
I feel like there's just no juice for Jokic this year, even though he's been so freaking amazing. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like, last year it felt there was this negative perception toward Jokic. People were just sick of him. They didn't want to give him the MVP. This year, it doesn't even feel like it's out of malice. It's I think we're just at that we've taken Jokic for granted stage with him. So Patrick, my bias. And this team is too far down the standings. But if the Mavericks can get up to 4, man, I think you will see a ton of Luka should win an MVP. He scored 73. He's doing all the scoring.
Yeah.
I think you'll see the Luka push because he's more popular than Shai. So I do think we'll see that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. If the Mavericks could climb up the standings just a little bit. But yeah, they are pretty far down. And all these guys that I just listed, they all have good enough numbers to justify an MVP. So then, like we always say, it comes down to narrative. And I feel like even if the Celtics end up winning the East, I just don't see the narrative meeting Jason Tatum there. So that's kind of a instant cross off on my list. And then it really leaves it to those other 3 guys, I think: Jokic, Shai, Luka. Giannis, I feel like his season's been so weird already. I would be a little surprised. Maybe if they can hunt down the Celtics at number 1, maybe they could get there. But it kind of feels like, can Luka go on a crazy run and bring the Mavs to 4, maybe top 3 in the West? Or who's going to win the West? If Shai wins the West, I feel like Shai should get the MVP. If Jokic wins the West, I feel like Jokic should get the MVP. Max, I'm sorry, but if the Wolves win the West, I have absolutely no idea what to do with this award. Just break it in a bunch of pieces and hand it to all the first-team All-NBA guys.
Yeah, I mean, now the MVP race is wide open, because I do feel like a week ago it was pretty shut and closed. Embiid was by far the clear favorite.
Yeah.
But Patrick, should we talk about the juiciest thing of all time, which is LeBron James? So David Pingalore, he is a reporter with KTLA. This guy has called LeBron to the Lakers. He called LeBron to Cleveland. He called Kawhi to the Clippers. Basically, this guy kind of has a perfect track record. And the thing is, he's not really a newsbreaker. He's very sparse with his news, but he tweeted, or he X'd. Is that the verb for X? You X'd?
I guess.
He slashed. He crossed. Hearing from NBA peeps, LeBron James is at the top of the Lakers list to trade the 39-year-old. Pelinka is looking for the right team to dance with and is close to a suitor. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are both out tonight. By the way, the Lakers beat the Celtics last night without LeBron and AD.
Yeah, and Austin Reeves looked freaking amazing. With that, can we talk about the game just real quick before we jump fully into the LeBron trade ideas? Because you know that I am dying to do that. I just think my takeaway from the Lakers-Celtics game is super unsustainable way for the Lakers to win games, but super sustainable way for the Celtics to lose games. The Celtics keep picking up these little losses that I'm like, how do you not get up for this game? Just little flashes in the pan of the Celtics of old. And like, I mean, Lakers, they're not going to shoot 52% from three in most games. We've seen that, but really gutsy win from the Lakers and really impressive win from Austin Reeves in particular. What did you think about the game, James?
It kind of goes back to what you were saying. The Celtics, like, they just take so many threes. It's another game where like the Lakers are able to shoot like a ton of free throws because they're taking way more points or way more shots toward the rim. Also, did you see that thing that was going around Twitter? It's like the Lakers were like last in drives per game, but first in free throws. But then it's like the Lakers are like also like leading the league in like post ups and stuff. And it's like people's like anti-ref Lakers narratives are really, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like people just like want to be upset about things so much.
Oh, especially with the Lakers. Like it is so fun to hate on the Lakers.
So I deep dived a lot into this Lakers season because I'm really confused because last season, Patrick, this Lakers team after the trade deadline, record-wise, was the best team in the NBA. They had the best record in the NBA. They went all the way from the bottom of the West to the Western Conference Finals. And I was really, really high on this team. And are you ready for some numbers that are going to blow your mind?
Yes, sirree.
So when you think of last year's Lakers, what is the lineup you think of that is just the crazy, this is why this team is good lineup?
It's like the AD, Vanderbilt, LeBron, Austin Reeves, and who's the other guy, D'Lo?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that 5-man lineup, Patrick, is plus 40 per 100 possessions this season.
Okay.
Darvin Ham needs to be fired. What are we doing? What? Okay, here's another one. So here's the other lineup that really kind of pole vaulted that Lakers team. It's that same 5-man lineup, but you slot in Rui for Vando. Plus 30 per 100. There's a sleeping giant in this Lakers team that's just last year's Lakers team. And Darvin Ham is not using it. What are we doing here in LA? Darvin Ham needs to be fired, in my opinion. I've been doing a deep dive. Apparently, like 6 sources I was reading are like the Lakers players are really upset with Darvin Ham because he's not playing the kind of core group that got them to the Western Conference Finals last year. A lot of people are saying he's playing Taurean Prince way too much because Prince was his guy back in Atlanta. And it just seems like this situation with the Lakers is just not going to a positive place because apparently Jeannie Buss is a huge fan of Ham's and doesn't want him to go. So, I mean, we're at an impasse here because Ham is... I mean, I guess, all of us, I feel like, grading coaches is one of the things as fans we really struggle with. Like, what do we know? But objectively speaking, not playing your best lineups is objectively bad coaching. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the whole time LeBron has been in LA, there's always been, especially since the Westbrook trade, there's been this dichotomy of like, there's LeBron and his team that is like trying to run the Lakers, the whole like clutch sports team that has obviously effectively gotten so many of their players on the Lakers roster over the last couple of years that LeBron has been there. And then there's the old guard Lakers, I guess Kupchak's not there anymore. Who am I thinking of? I don't know. That whole like Buss family, obviously Magic was in and out. And it seems like they just are at a point where it's like the team isn't winning. We just have to stop giving in to these LeBron demands because the Westbrook trade went so bad. And I guess that has morphed into like reasoning why they should keep Darvin Ham. I don't know. This is all speculation, but it's kind of all these breadcrumbs add up to it really making sense that the Lakers could be looking to move on from LeBron because they've invested so much into the LeBron era, and now he can opt out of his contract this offseason, and then it could just be done. And if they have intel saying that LeBron is not long for LA, it would be the smart thing. It would be what any other franchise in the NBA. Obviously, the Lakers are not just any other franchise in the NBA, but it's what any other franchise would do and look to trade their guy, especially when they're in, ninth place in the West.
Yeah, I think what's just really frustrating about the situation is, all of us thought this was going to be a good team coming into the year. And now that Vanderbilt's back, we can kind of see in the lineup data that this is a good team when the tools are used properly. I think that's what's frustrating. This is almost like, it's like this team is nowhere near as bad as its record. Like, we can see that when they play the lineup that worked last year, it works this year too. I guess like that's where I'm a little like, what are we doing in Lakerland? Like, why is the coach not playing these lineups that make sense? Why is Rui Hachimura being banished to not playing when Taurean Prince has like some of the worst shot selection we've seen this season? Like, why is the team being managed this way? I guess that's the real frustrating part is like, if you're not going to use the tools you have properly, then yeah, you should probably try to get assets. But I think this would be a bad choice because I don't think Anthony Davis is going to want to stay if LeBron is traded. I think Anthony Davis is kind of like LeBron's right-hand man.
Yeah, I mean, I bet Anthony Davis would be very frustrated. I guess the good thing from a Lakers standpoint is like you just signed him to a contract extension last offseason. So like, for instance, if you wanted to trade Anthony Davis before the trade deadline, you literally could not. But I will push back a little bit just to say like two good lineups don't like always equal a great team. But like the fact that they're not playing those lineups is like very questionable. And like, why not? It makes me think like what's going on behind the scenes there is like, I don't know. Maybe like it's LeBron. Does LeBron not get along with Rui anymore for some reason? Or like it makes so little sense that you start to like pry in and think like, is there some interpersonal problem somewhere in those lineups?
I feel like it's a Ham thing. There was a clip last night of Rui hitting a three and LeBron and Davis going crazy on the bench. Seemed super happy for him. Like,
yeah, the Rui thing was complete
a lot of the reporting has. Yeah, like it seems like a lot of the reporting is just like they're upset that they went to the Western Conference Finals and then this year Ham is only playing the guys who didn't help them get there last year. I don't know. So, what are your LeBron trades that you like if they were to trade him? Because there's two teams for me that I think really stand out as clean fits, clean trades, make sense for both teams. And what is your number one LeBron trade?
It was hard. It's like to evaluate LeBron's value is kind of an impossible task, I would say, because it's like he's not on a long-term contract, so it's like, do you want to include long-term money or like picks or long-term money? It's like ideally no, but it's also LeBron James, and he probably will put any team, almost any team, over the top once he gets there, depending on the pieces that are sent out. Probably, I'll just give you one first. Probably my favorite of the trades that I came up with, and I came up, we can rattle through some of them at the end, but probably my favorite one was LeBron to the Warriors, and it's a 4-for-4 construction. Of course, the Warriors have been another complete disaster this season, and I don't know if adding LeBron into the fold would fix everything, but it would be very cool to see LeBron play next to Chris Paul. It would be very cool to see LeBron play next to Steph. So what my trade was LeBron, Gabe Vincent, Christian Wood, and Jackson Hayes. So Lakers get off a little bit of bad money as well. For Klay Thompson going to the team that his father won many NBA championships with, the team that he grew up cheering for. Gary Payton II, Jonathan Kuminga, and Moses Moody. No picks involved. Those young players are the value you get, and then you get LeBron James. What do you think?
I'm a little, LeBron in the Golden State uniform would just be like too much. I'm a little worried about defensively what a team like that looks like in terms of like rim protection, because I don't know if you're going to play Looney, Draymond, and LeBron together. LeBron and Steph is a crazy combination.
It would be almost as wrong as seeing Chris Paul in a Warriors jersey.
I know it'd be the only thing that would be worse, but no, I've seen a lot of speculation for the Warriors. Patrick, the two teams I think, well, 2.5 teams, because the third team I feel like is the one that I feel like we're both thinking of, so we'll save that one, little homecoming one. But the two teams I think make sense just from it's easy to make it work is the Sixers and the Knicks.
Okay, cool. I had
because both the Sixers and the Knicks have a quality power forward in Tobias Harris and Julius Randle. So those are kind of the big salary, but also they're not bad. And then the Knicks have the Fournier contract to fill it out. The Sixers have the Korkmaz contract to fill that trade out. And then both of them have some future picks. Again, it kind of goes back to how do you value LeBron James? He has a player option. He's probably going to retire if he gets traded. He might not even play the rest of the season if he got traded. I think he would only play if it was to a team like a Philly or a New York, or I think if he got traded to Oklahoma City, I don't think he would play. I straight up think if it's not a big market, I don't see LeBron James lacing up for that team.
I don't know. I feel like if it was a clear contender, he would consider it because we all know the number one thing that is important to LeBron James is his legacy, and maybe being able to tag on one extra championship might coax him into playing a half a season in Oklahoma City. But I think that's a really great point.
But to go back to the Philly trade, Tobias has that big contract, but you re-sign him for a reasonable amount of money. All of a sudden, Tobias looks a lot better. I feel like a lot of the issues with Tobias is the size of his contract. But if you're able to re-sign him this summer to a much more reasonable deal, and you enter next year with kind of like Reeves, Tobias on a good contract, and Anthony Davis, and you have more flexibility to build a team, that's the start of the retooling for the Lakers. Obviously, whatever picks you get from Philly, you might have to get a lot of picks from Philly because none of their picks are that great. And then LeBron on Philly, I mean, kind of the way Steph would play with LeBron. Maxi's such an amazing off-the-ball shooter, great in the handoff game, great moving without the ball. And I think LeBron with that kind of spaced-out Philadelphia lineup could be pretty lethal until Embiid gets back. And then when Embiid is back, I mean, sky's the limit for that team.
Absolutely. Spaced out. Speedy guards that shoot really well. We've seen LeBron succeed with time and time again throughout his career. What picks do they have? Do you have that down?
They have like a weird. I'll pull it up. They have like a weird option pick that goes between 4 teams and the Rockets, them, the Thunder.
The Harden, or the maybe Ben Simmons trade that was in there. Mm-hmm. I'll talk a little bit about the Knicks trade while you're looking.
They have a 2026 first. It's the least favorable from OKC, Houston, and Clippers. They have their unprotected Los Angeles Clippers 2028 first.
That's juicy.
So that's the juicy one. That one would probably have to get protections put on it.
I would definitely
for
want
a 39-year-old LeBron who's probably going to retire if he gets traded to your team, but and then they have the swap rights for the Clippers pick in 2029, which that could be juicy. I mean, there's a chance the Clippers are really bad at the end of this decade.
Yeah, at the bare minimum, you can send those 3 picks out being those are very volatile picks, but that is for a Lakers fan base being able to say, yeah, we got 3 first-round picks. I think there's something there. Probably my favorite as far as asset-wise for the Lakers, I would say, is the Knicks package. The Knicks have 8 tradable first-round picks. I say first-round picks very loosely, but because 4 of those picks are very borderline of the quality of first-round picks. But if you're sending out, especially for the Lakers, if you're receiving 5 first-round picks for a LeBron James package, I think you can go to sleep happy at night knowing you have sent out so many picks over the course of time, and the Lakers have been very successful in even later round picks in the draft over the last decade of identifying talent. But all right, let's talk about the most fun team, the one that we are all rooting
Cavaliers?
for, the Cavaliers.
The Cavs?
What is
what is
your
what
Cavs
I love about
trade?
The Cavs? So Davis is straight up not tradable. He's not tradable at all this year.
Not tradable at all this year, unfortunately.
Because I think Cavs fans might love this or hate this, but I was thinking if there's some sort of framework where it's Garland and Mobley for LeBron and AD. But if that's not possible, I mean, Cleveland, I feel like, at this point, we've kind of talked about this when we were talking about Donovan Mitchell earlier, is there's always been this weird, like, Garland's our guy, Mitchell's like the mercenary, which I feel like it feels like that because it's been framed like that in a way. You know what I mean? Obviously, we had our Mitchell trade pod, didn't get traded. Doesn't look like he's going to get traded. The Cavs have been better with Mitchell than they've been with Garland now for about 2 seasons. And, like, if you're the Cavs, like, I don't really understand why it seems like every team construction for the Cavs has to be the Garland one and not the Mitchell one. So if you're Cleveland, are you comfortable giving up Garland or Mobley to get LeBron James? Because I think adding LeBron James to this Cleveland team could be kind of crazy.
So,
and maybe you even get a pick with LeBron because you're giving up either a borderline all-star point guard or you're giving up a defensive player of the year candidate.
The difficult thing about any Cleveland trade construction for LeBron is they don't really have any tradable picks. They have a couple swaps that they can send out, but those aren't like real first-round picks. And of course, like, you're leaving the Lakers with Anthony Davis. It's a roll of the dice. You don't know what kind of first round picks those, or what kind of swaps those will end up being like. I built out 2 trade constructions that would work for LeBron going back to Cleveland. The first one is, I think, the more obvious one that I don't like, because I do agree with you. Why not, if you have Garland, you have Donovan Mitchell, why not keep the better player, which I think is clearly Donovan Mitchell. But this one is built around Donovan Mitchell, and it's just simply LeBron for Donovan Mitchell and Karis LeVert. The money works. I think if you're the Lakers, you can easily turn Donovan Mitchell around and turn him into a lot of assets, or you can just roll the dice and see how it's going to go with Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Davis, which you could do a lot worse than starting with 2 all-NBA talents. But the trade construction that I actually like better, if I'm the Cavs and I'm going for it, and mindfully that Darius Garland is a clutch sports guy. I'm sure LeBron would want to play with him. It's a construction all around getting Evan Mobley to Los Angeles. Evan Mobley's been a little bit disappointing this year. He hasn't taken the strides developmentally that we've wanted. So the package would be LeBron, Cam Reddish, and Jackson Hayes for Karis LeVert, Max Strus, Isaac Okoro, and Evan Mobley. And then this just builds out a true big 4 of Jared Allen, who has been amazing. We're going to talk about all-star snubs later. I think he's kind of on the borderline of that discussion. Garland and Mitchell, too. We talked about how great it would be for LeBron to play next to a guy like Maxey. For LeBron to play next to 2 guys like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. We've never seen that in LeBron's career. And then LeBron, and you still got like Niang. What do you think of those 2 trade constructions?
I don't like the first one. I don't think Cleveland would ever say yes to that, but I like the second one. I really like Garland, Mitchell, LeBron, so much spacing, so much shooting. Obviously, if LeBron goes to Cleveland, it can't be with both of the bigs. And Allen, I feel like, has shown to be the better overall player than Mobley, which I don't think anyone expected 2 years ago, but it's kind of the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Some guys don't always develop linearly. They don't always develop at the same rate, year to year. Yeah, I mean, a LeBron homecoming would be a lot of fun. I remember, was it like a couple years ago, there was like some weird LeBron tiff, and it was like a lot of sources were like the Cavs don't want LeBron to come back anymore. They want to move on to a post-LeBron era. But I mean, the small forward spot's been the missing ingredient for this Cavs construction for 2 years now. And like, man, it'd be so fun if LeBron like won one last championship with Cleveland.
So let's say they did that construction of basically Evan Mobley and 3 of their best role players for LeBron. Where does that like put the Cavs in the East? Would you put them above a Boston, a Milwaukee, or is it just kind of in the same conversation?
No, I think I would I'd put them at the top, because I think we've seen with the Celtics. I mean, it's just this, I don't know, man, like, why are you guys shooting so many threes? Why are you losing to the Lakers without LeBron and AD. Like, there's just something about the Celtics team where it's like, it's kind of like the year they went to the finals. Their net rating is off the charts. They're amazing, but you get to the finals and all of a sudden Draymond Green's talking hella shit and you don't quite look right. And then the next year you're like the number 1 or you're the number 2 seed, and all of a sudden Jimmy Butler's in your head and you don't quite look right. There's just this weird mental lapse with that Celtics team that, like, I hate talking about pro sports when it comes to the mental side of things because I generally don't believe in it, but like, you just see it with the Celtics. They're just not a mentally tough team.
Yeah, and it would definitely be pretty mentally tough to see LeBron James walk into your arena when, how long has it been since he's lost to an Eastern Conference team in the playoffs? Like, friggin' 10 years?
It hasn't been since it's been over a decade. It hasn't been since 2009.
Yeah, that's insane.
2009, 2010.
Okay, you want to talk about the trades that won't happen but are funny to talk about?
Wait, can I do one more team that I think would be really awesome for LeBron and maybe even more awesome than the Cavs?
Yes, please.
Julius Randle and Fournier and whatever picks package the Knicks need, and to get LeBron James.
Yeah. I'm totally on board with you on the Knicks.
I mean, you roll in with Brunson, Hart, OG, LeBron, and Hardenstein. I mean, talk about a team that if you're the Celtics, you don't want to see.
Yeah, and talk about a way to goose up your legacy, LeBron. Bring a title to New York City.
Because I think the thing we've seen with LeBron is, like, when he wants to try on defense, like, it's still there. And if you're telling me, like, okay, you've got 48 minutes to deal with OG Anunoby, LeBron, and Josh Hart, like, fuck, man. Like, I think that team is just...
Yeah.
I don't know what you do against that team.
You don't do anything. Yeah, I would love to see Tibbs and LeBron interacting on a day-to-day basis. That would be amazing. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I think of all these teams that should maybe be a little reckless, I think the Knicks should be reckless with trying to make this happen, because if you add LeBron to this Knicks team, I don't know. I think that's clearly the best team in the East.
Absolutely. And you would get so much behind the scenes drama of CAA, all the like CAA guys against Rich Paul. Everyone's trying to like become best friends with James Dolan and go to concerts at the Sphere with him every weekend. It would just be there would be nothing better in sports. I can't imagine anything better for ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, if LeBron won a title with the Knicks, like, that would just be, it would just be incredible.
Chef's kiss. The chef's kiss of all chef's kisses. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Who would be, so in this universe where LeBron is on the Knicks, who would you want to see him go up against in the finals?
Ooh, I mean, the Clippers would be really fun, but I feel like if LeBron can best Jokic, that would be kind of a nice, that would be the ultimate cherry on top.
Yeah, that would be like almost like a you gotta retire, dude. It doesn't get better than this moment, which I don't think he would.
Yeah, I feel like there's no Jokic-LeBron rivalry, but it's kind of like Jokic with the Clippers, where Jokic kind of just owns the city of LA, the entire city.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, there's a little bit of juice there, but it's more like the full Lakers team versus the full Nuggets team. It would be really fun to see LeBron play against like a guy like Luka in the finals. Like if Luka went on like a magical run through the playoffs, and then battle LA, but the LA turns to battle LE.
New York versus LA.
It's New York versus LA. Okay. I've got a few more trades that I just got to get off my chest that won't happen, but we can laugh at. LeBron to the Nuggets. Nuggets send out Michael Porter Jr. and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and unite the two greatest passers of our generation. Love that one. What do you think?
I try to do a Nuggets trade construction myself, and I'm just a little worried what happens to that Nuggets team when you lose the two off-the-ball shooters. Because the problem is you can't make a LeBron to the Nuggets trade without involving Porter, but it's really Aaron Gordon is the guy that LeBron would slot so nicely into that role.
Yes, that is true. A trade just so crazy that I feel like it could happen. The Bulls just convinced themselves to go all in for one more season. They're in the play-in mix. So it's very simply DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, and 3 first-round picks. Those are going to be super juicy Bulls first-round picks.
I think there's just no way. I feel like LeBron, if this is real, which, like, who knows, man, if LeBron, it's almost impossible to picture LeBron James getting traded, but, like, I feel like if LeBron is like, oh, you're going to trade me? If you don't trade me one of these 3 teams, like, I'm going to retire.
I don't know. I just don't see him. I don't see him retiring, to be honest.
I cannot picture him playing for an Oklahoma City.
Okay, ready to hear a team
Minnesota
that you can definitely not imagine him playing for, but would fix this title contender? Like, in my opinion, full send fix this title contender? Drew Holiday, Al Horford, and a first-round pick and a first-round pick swap for LeBron James. LeBron going to Boston, completely makes sense of their team. You've still got Jaylen Brown. You've still got Jason Tatum. You've still got Kristaps Porzingis. The whole gang, except for Drew Holiday and Al Horford, and you replace it with the king of the East, LeBron James.
I think Celtics fans would be so upset if they needed LeBron James to win the championship. But, yeah, I mean, also, what do you think about just a LeBron for Jaylen Brown straight up type trade?
Yeah, I thought about it. The one complicating factor with something like that is
Jaylen has a no trade clause.
He has a no trade clause, and he doesn't make that huge number this season. He still makes $30 million. So then you've got to put in 2 more guys. It would have to be like an Al Horford and then someone else, which they don't really have those middling contracts. So that's why the Drew Holiday one works a little bit better. But I mean, he's not good. The Lakers would never. It would be like trading Babe Ruth.
Never. Yeah, they would never. All right, should we talk about the All-Star reserves, or do we have one more?
No, that's all I got. I'm ready to talk about the All-Star reserves.
So Patrick and I gave out our All-Star teams quite a while ago, and these actual teams are looking very different than the ones we came up with. The East All-Star reserves are Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Bam Adebayo, Julius Randle, Tyrese Maxey, Paolo Banchero. So I know both of us had Trae Young. He did not make the cut, but he will get there because Julius Randle has a separated shoulder right now. Obviously, Joel Embiid just got hurt, so another Eastern player is going to make it. Patrick, I don't know about you. I thought the East All-Stars just kind of weird.
Yeah, it was pretty surprising to see Paolo Banchero make it. Really, just at the end of the day, it would have made sense a month and a half ago when the Magic were rolling and they were kind of one of the stories of the NBA. But I was pretty surprised to see him get that nod, especially over Trae Young.
Yeah, I think Banchero's a weird pick because when we did this exercise a month ago, the Magic were higher in the standings, and neither of us had Banchero there. And since then, the Magic have only kind of fallen in the standings. Paolo's shooting has kind of come back to earth. Not to toot my own horn, but my picking the Cavs to soar up the standings and the Magic to drop when they were 5 games apart is looking pretty good right now. And yeah, I think Jared Allen, we talked about it. Maybe he doesn't make it because he was not very good to start the season. Jared Allen was actually kind of bad the first month and a half of the season. So you got to factor in that first month. It seems like we do tend to wait what happened more recently than what happened in the beginning of the season. But yeah, I think the other odd one was Jaylen Brown for me. I don't know. I think I have this weird thing, Patrick, where if you have an obvious flaw that is exploitable in the playoffs, I think that has to count against you, even though it's a regular season all-star. Just the guy can't dribble with his left hand. I feel like he tanks the Celtics in a lot of games with his shot selection. I personally don't think Jaylen Brown is an all-star. I just don't see it.
I think in a world where, Jimmy Butler is around, I don't know. Jimmy, he just didn't play enough games, I think, at the end of the day to get himself into the all-star situation. And I had Jimmy Butler over Jaylen Brown. I don't have the biggest problem with Jaylen ending up on the team because the Celtics have been so dominant this year. And Kristaps Porzingis I had him in there. and he
I
didn't end up playing enough
Porzingis
games
too. That's where I think. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Porzingis is better than Jaylen Brown. He's been more impactful for the Celtics. Like I feel like he should be the All-Star for the second All-Star for that team.
Yeah. I mean, there's also like positional stuff that goes into play here, but I mean, Jaylen Brown is an amazing player. He is a really, really good player, and he is probably the second best player, pure like talent wise, on the best team in the NBA thus far. So I don't know. I have less problems than that. I do have a problem though with De'Aaron Fox and no Kings at all making it.
Oh, wait. Do you want to talk about, before we get to the West? So Trae Young will slot in for Joel Embiid or Randall. Halliburton has been on a minutes restriction lately, but I'm guessing he'll play in the All-Star game. Who else from the East do you think is going to slot in to take that final spot, given that we have 2 injury spots in the East?
I feel like Jimmy is probably the name there. Did you have anybody else other than Jimmy?
I think Jared Allen, especially with the way the Cavs have been playing. Yeah, I mean, no one else from the Pacers. I guess the Knicks already have their 2. The Bucks already have their 2. The Sixers have their 2. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably Jimmy.
Which is good. We need...
Or Scotty Barnes. Jimmy or Scotty Barnes.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about Scotty Barnes. The Raptors have kind of struggled as of late. They've continued to fall down the standings. But, I mean, he's had a pretty good season in his own right. Yeah, I think the clear one is Trae Young there, and then probably Jimmy Butler, especially just to like get Jimmy Butler there. If you're the NBA, you need to have your marquee guys at All-Star Weekend, and no matter how you cut it, Jimmy Butler is a marquee guy.
Yep. All right, let's talk West. No Kings, no De'Aaron Fox, by the way, who's averaging around 30 points a game. Definitely one of the most dynamic offensive point guards and defensive point guards in the game. Actually, the game I went to against the Heat, he had a really nice poke steal on Jimmy Butler that he converted into a fast break. I'm kind of shocked to see De'Aaron not make it.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I guess it ended up being De'Aaron or Devin Booker, and I understand why Devin got the nod over De'Aaron. His creation's been a lot better, and the scoring is just kind of the same. But I don't know. You're going to yell at me, and this may be sacrilege. I would have had De'Aaron over Steph. I'm sorry. The Warriors have been awful this year, really throughout the whole time. Steph has played 41 games, but like that's not overly. I guess that's just right there with what De'Aaron Fox has done. But basically, statistically, they're putting out the same offensive output, and the Kings are just a way, way, way better team. I get that Steph is an all-time dude, but this just hasn't been like the year. And when it's so close, I would like to reward the team with the better player. But I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I had this guy on my ballot of too many people when we did this because I accidentally had an extra person in the West, and he was my extra person, and he looks like the extra person here. And I'm sorry, Max, but Karl Anthony Towns, I feel like, is the one who sticks out. So the All-Star reserves is 2 guards, 3 front court players, and 2 players from any position. I'm assuming Towns is one of the 2 players from any position. I feel like De'Aaron should go there.
Yeah, I could see him in the Towns slot. Yeah, only 22 points a game, 8 rebounds from Towns. I guess it helps that he had that.
I think Towns has been great. I think the West is just really loaded. But, yeah, I think if we're going to be upset of De'Aaron not making it, it's that Towns spot where we should kind of all be a little bit more upset. There's been a huge tiff about Sabonis. I'm sorry. I just don't see the case for Sabonis against a single name on the list of people who've made it.
Yeah, no. I would definitely rather have Cat.
I just don't see it. Like, I just don't see it. Like, everyone's clamoring it's got to be Sabonis. Cat's, we've talked about how great he's been for the Timberwolves, who've been the number 1 team almost all season. Like, I just don't see the case for Sabonis over any of these guys. And to go back to my Jaylen Brown point, Sabonis is another one of those guys who sneakily only has one hand. You saw the Warriors expose it in the playoffs last year. And I personally don't like rewarding one-trick ponies who don't work in the playoffs.
Dude, it's the regular season, though. It is the All-Star game. We're not talking about All-NBA. We're rewarding success in the regular season.
But Towns has been more I just don't understand the whole tiff about Sabonis. Like, I get it with Fox. I'm upset Fox hasn't made it. Fox should be in. But I just don't understand the whole Sabonis should be an all-star. Okay, who's he going to replace? Kevin Durant? Like, I'm sorry. What are we talking about here?
That's why I think the Kings guy is obviously Fox who should be in there. And I also, Max, I'm with you, dude. I think the T-Wolves deserve 2 All-Stars. I had Rudy Gobert in there. I get why Rudy didn't end up making it. But I would not swap out Karl Anthony Towns because they're the number 1 seed in the entire NBA. Or not in the entire Western Conference. I think and Cat, I mean, he's just scored 63 points the other day. He's had an incredible year. I don't know. I guess the other spot you could look at is maybe Paul George. He's been so efficient this year.
He's been so good.
He's been so although he was awful when I saw him.
There is going to be really, really good players who don't make it, and that's just the reality of the situation.
I kind of am with you guys about Cat. Like, I think Ant definitely deserves it. And when I saw Cat in there, I was like, oh, okay. All right. I mean, like, he has been doing better, but I don't know. Like, there's some other people I'd rather see in that spot. Even as a T-Wolves fan, like, it still is sort of strange.
Yeah, I guess, how do you both feel about the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed need to have 2 All-Stars? Because I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe it as a hard and fast rule, definitely at all. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and say that I don't think record should be considered when we're talking about who makes the All-Star team. Because, like, it is really important. Like, this is kind of a snapshot of what has happened thus far throughout the season. So if there's not like a star level guy, I don't think it should be shoehorned. But if you can make the case for it, I think it should be valued if you're a number 1, a number 2, a number 3 seed in your conference.
I think where it gets tough though is you look at the West and like Minnesota has been the one team that's been there the whole time. And the Thunder now for most of the season, but like, given how close these teams are in the standings, the Clippers could be the 2 seed, the Thunder could be the 4 seed. The Kings are really close with like the Mavs. Like if they keep sliding, like they could be the 8 seed. So it's just like, I don't know. Especially when the standings are this tight, I feel like the actual number in the standing almost doesn't matter when it's going to change so much over the next 3-4 weeks.
But what about a team that's out of the play-in picture?
But I just don't think you should hold Steph accountable for how bad his teammates have been, because like on the flip side, right, the Sixers without Embiid have been really, really bad. So should Maxey not be an all-star? I guess that's where where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I hear you.
I just don't think we should punish guys for playing on dog shit teams. Like, I just don't think that's fair.
But the fact of the matter is, I feel like that's what happens. Like, they're for young players, at least. Like, throughout NBA history, we've seen young players probably almost always have to wait like a year too long because they aren't winning to that extent, even though their numbers might be there. And I'm just saying, like, shouldn't that logic be applied to the older players of the league as well?
Yeah, I guess I just still think Steph is a super, super impactful player, and I just can't imagine a world where he wouldn't be an all-star.
Yeah, I'm not saying Steph isn't amazing. I'm just saying this year, he just flat out hasn't been as effective as we've seen him in the past, and the team success just isn't there. But, I mean... Yeah. I guess we already talked East, but I think the real guy that's the most interesting to talk about is Trae Young. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of his, like, brand of heliocentric basketball. But, I mean, at some point, even people like me have to be like, bro, Trae... I mean, I did have him on my all-star ballot, but, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's just weird that he's going to get in as a reserve and not... or, like, a reserve and not as just a proper you were announced.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm glad he's gonna get in as a reserve because, like, it would be basically unprecedented in NBA history for a guy that is averaging 27 and almost 11 assists a game to not make it. Like I said, this All-Star for me is all about, like, who is putting up great numbers and who is putting up wins. And although Trae is not putting up wins, Trae, you could argue, has like the best numbers of almost anybody in the East. Just like insane creation.
Yeah, I saw that Trae Young is the first player to not be named an All-Star with these numbers since Trae Young.
Yeah, geez. Everyone hates Trae Young.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that is one of those things, right? Like, if you watch a Hawks game, like the usage rate, the heliocentricism of it is a lot.
Yeah, it's not appealing to watch.
But I still think he's an All-Star.
Yeah, and he will be. So I guess there is some justice there. Jesus Christ, this has been a big week.
I know, it's kind of crazy. We had so many things we wanted to talk about today. Patrick, your Suns 2-0'd my Heat this season.
Hey, I told him I really needed it this year. I feel like generally we always lose against the Heat, especially in that Orlando, Miami back-to-back that the Suns always have. But they knew a special guest would be in the audience on Monday.
Patrick, can I give you 3 possessions that I thought were just really interesting Suns
yes,
looks?
Of course.
I think all of these could be, well, these are bad. So there was 2 possessions where Devin Booker was so upset he didn't get a foul call, he straight up didn't play defense.
Sounds like his buddy Luka.
It's like one of those things, I don't know if you notice as much on TV. No, I mean, I was thinking about that too, but he literally one of the times just stayed on the Heat side of the court instead of playing defense and just waited for the possession to end. And it ended up being like a long half-court possession, just didn't play defense. Happened twice. But there was another time where the Heat went to their zone, and Booker has the ball at the top of the key, and he's kind of like, okay, the Heat are playing their weird zone. What should I do? Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to run at Terry Rozier until I get to the free throw line and pull up and sink the free throw. And Devin Booker's solution to beating the zone, instead of like passing and shooting, was like, I'm going to ISO and hit mid-rangers, which is like the complete goal of the zone. But it just worked because it's Devin Booker and he doesn't miss mid-range shots over Terry Rozier.
Yeah, that sounds like my guy right there. Yeah, that zone was putting the Suns in a bit of a tizzy at the end of that game.
I was like, is this a good sign for the Suns or a bad sign? Like, that their way of combating a zone is not to do it properly, but to just ram their head into it, and it just works.
Whenever a team plays a zone against the Suns, it does make my heart beat a little bit faster and make me miss Chris Paul a little bit more, because that's a guy that when like it's just so easy to, I feel like someone who's never watched basketball before could identify a zone when Chris Paul is like manipulating the ball against it, because he just like tears it up so quickly. But yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about like the Devin Booker experience.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on? I mean, Jalen Brunson last night, 40 points, really emotional game for the Knicks.
Super great moment.
Man, I love this Knicks team, man. Yeah.
Yeah, how can you not just love what's going on in New York? And the way that he just fits that city hand in glove, and not to mention the entire play style of this team. I really hope we can see a Knicks run this year, because I think it could be really, really special for a city that is so crucial in the history of the game, that has not seen very much success at all during our entire lifetimes. It would be so awesome and so special. And I don't know a better guy that I think it could be happening to than Jalen Brunson. He just seems like to be really appreciating the moment, and it's really awesome to see.
Yeah. All right, should we get to hot streak shooting?
Let's do it. Okay, James, start us off, please. I want to hear about your week.
I've had I honestly, now that I'm sick though, Patrick, I'm gonna say I feel like I'm on my first shooting slump.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, I had a great week in Miami. I went to 2 Heat games. I got to go to the Heat practice facility. I got to hang out with Josh Richardson, super cool guy. My man went off after I beat him in Pig, so shout out to me, Heat Nation. I motivated Jay Rich to go off that game. Also beat him in a relay race, just saying. And then, I got to hang out at the stadium after one night. It was really cool. The Heat really hooked me up. Let me go to their crazy lounge, hooked me up with dinner. Miami is the most beautiful city. The weather is amazing. The mojitos, I got to hit my yearly mojito quota. What better place to do that than Miami?
No better place.
I'm sick. Yeah, I'm sick. I've got a lot of just work I have to catch up on. Some behind the scenes stuff with my YouTube channel. People are moving and going, and I'm frantically trying to replace editors and stuff. So it's just a little stressful. And Patrick, we've talked about this player and this person a lot, but I kind of want to talk about him a little bit, even though it has not much to do with my week. But the Spurs are starting to play better players around Victor Wembanyama. And I was just watching one of their games, and I just couldn't help but think, why don't they trade for Chris Paul?
Hey, I've been beating that drum since the Suns traded him initially to the Wizards. I think that would be awesome.
I was talking to my friend Ian, and I was saying what's really cool about Victor is it feels like we're going to see the best case scenario for his career because of how much he cares about his body and everything like that. And I feel like I'm just excited to see year 2 Victor. I just feel like he's going to be all NBA second team next. I think Victor is going to just maybe even be an all-star starter. I think what he's doing now on this team that's really bad is really special. And Spurs are now quietly 10 wins, tied with Charlotte. I honestly think they might not finish in the bottom 5.
Yeah, I mean,
because this guy is so special and fun to watch. So he's been the hot streak in the heat of being sick is an auto shooter slump for me. I hate being sick. Being sick pisses me off.
Yeah, dude, it's the worst. I'm sorry to hear that you're not feeling too well. Well, I'm kind of torn for my week because I had really high highs, but also I took 2 7-hour drives this week and 4 flights. I was in 3. No, I mean, if you count the stops on the plane, I was in 6 different states over the course of 2.5 days. So I went to Cleveland with Jesser and the whole production team to help with a video there. I had never been to Cleveland before. I was there for literally 20 hours. 5 a.m., flew out of LA, went there. We basically immediately went to the game, shot the video, and then 3 a.m. again, but Cleveland time, had to go to the airport and then 5 a.m. Fly all the way back. So that was very, very taxing on my body, especially after the back-to-back 7-hour drives to and fro Arizona for the wedding that I went to. But the Cavs arena and just all the vibes around it were so freaking great. Honestly, Cavs arena, one of my favorite arenas that I have ever been to. My favorite thing about it is we had this suite, but they have lower level suites. So there's probably 30 rows in front of the suites, but you're basically eye level with the court. So you can really you're not too high. So you start losing the perspective of how big the live players are. And you can see how fast the ball's whipping around, which is really awesome. And also it was Clippers Cavs. So it was a pretty marquee matchup. But I gotta give it to the Cavs fans. They all really showed out and were just super intense. They were super in the game. They were loving it. It was a really, really great atmosphere. So that was super fun to be there and do that. But just so much travel, and the wedding was also really fun. I feel like you, Max. I feel like I'm kind of on a hot slump. The high highs, but also my body is falling apart right now.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I am. When I look back at my week, I'm dude, I had an awesome week, but I do feel like I'm in a hot slump because it's I hate being sick because I'm also one of those people that like, I feel like some people when they're sick, they're like, cool, I'm just going to lay in bed for 2 days. And I'm someone who's like, no, I still have to work, but now I have to do it with a headache because I don't like laying in bed.
No, I feel that. It's so hard to like, and it's like life does not stop when you're sick. What are you supposed to do? I don't know. I'm settling on hot slump. I love the new term that you added to our lexicon, Max. And I'll throw it to you, Max. How you feeling? Where are you sitting at?
It's been interesting. It's been kind of a sleepy, rainy week in LA again. I'm not like, I have been pretty productive doing some other work and like, just staying active. The T-Wolves also back in the number 1 spot over OKC. I realize where they belong, baby. I realize it's so close. No howling. Sorry. No, but I realize it's like they're all 1 game away from each other, and so I just keep checking. I'm like, okay, today the Wolves need to win. OKC needs to lose. Denver can win 1 game, but they can't win. I'm like keeping track of like, yeah. It's but I'm happy that they seem to be doing okay. And then this weekend I got Korean barbecue tonight, and then one of my roommates' birthdays is tomorrow night, so got a stacked lineup coming up. I'm gonna say I'm on a hot streak. I'm sorry guys, but I'm doing better than you.
That's okay. We need that heat. We need that flame right there. One story that I did not tell about our Cavs experience was I have to preface this with we all know the beef between Matt Ishbia, the Suns owner, and Dan Gilbert, the Cavs owner. They both own like the biggest like mortgage companies in middle America. But I was wearing this like big, gigantic, obnoxious, puffy Suns jacket to protect me from the elements. And one of the people that worked at the Cavs arena, they looked at me and they were like, really? Suns? You had to wear Suns? Mr. Gilbert, he wouldn't like that if he saw that. I was like, damn. Like, even the people that work at the arena are in on the beef? Like, they're shaming every Suns fan that walks into this building? I was shocked, and that was the funniest thing that happened when that happened.
That's great. I love that. I wonder if it's like any team gear that's not Cavs gear. They're just like, stay out of our town. But you really think it's like specific to the Suns beat?
Yeah, I wonder what would get. I think it is. I wonder what would get more of a rise though, if you wore like that or if you wore like a Draymond Green jersey.
Yeah, I don't know. People were walking around. There's so many people with like Lakers jerseys, like at any other. But the one person that they pointed out in our gigantic group was me with my obnoxious Suns jacket on, because I guess they all use Rocket Mortgage.
Bro, shout out to Laker Nation. You could hear some "Let's Go Lakers" chants in Boston last night.
Wow. Yeah, Laker Nation, hardcore. You hear them wherever.
Oh, actually, somebody. All right, so I don't know if this is an embarrassing story. So for like the first 4 or 5 years of being a YouTuber, I didn't know how to actually check my Instagram message requests. And then like one day, 2 years ago, I found out like however many people have been requesting to like DM me on Instagram. So every couple of days I check my Instagram DMs, and I usually hit most people back. And I found this one guy who he said, I can't stand you talking about the Heat. Talk about any other team. Just talk about the Lakers, please. And then he replied to every story of me at the Heat game, and it was just like, fuck the Heat. I don't like the Heat.
Wow. Generational.
I feel like we don't even talk about the Heat.
Wemby generational level hater talent right there.
It does not like the Miami
That
Heat.
is crazy.
Well, you know what? Maybe these other teams should try to make it to the finals and be relevant, and maybe we'll start talking about them.
All right. Well, with that, since we insulted every fan base in the NBA,
Except for Denver.
Except for Denver and Miami. I think this is a good place to end it.
Yep. All right, we will be in studio next week. Apologies for the weird virtual ones this week. We were not really, up to date. I'm what I guess a lot of people would call a boomer. We'll end it there. See you guys next week. Peace.